Americano newspaper. Best newspaper in analysis in the state of Illinois. With over 20,000 copies in each edition, El Sueño Americano is available in all versions. El Sueño Americano Lake County, El Sueño Americano Pilsen, El Sueño Americano Southeast, El Sueño Americano Aurora, and Sooner in many more regions. El Sueño Americano, the other side of news. The best analysis in regional, state, and national politics. El Sueño Americano is your alternative information in championnews.net. The conservative voice for Illinois news and commentary on education, pensions, and politics.
I'm doing great, Greg. How you doing?
I'm doing really good, honey. And Manny is the leader right now of the Latino National Republican Coalition. Manny, give us some history about that.
Yes, this is actually, it's the LNRC is the acronym. It's the Latino National Republican Coalition. And it started a couple of years back, I would say maybe 2-3 years back, when there was a huge need and a void in the Latino Republican ranks in reference to really concentrating on supporting Hispanic and Latinos of all backgrounds and nationalities and really doing grassroots work.
Yes.
It's so important to inform, educate, and create that awareness among Latino Hispanics. And the coalition is really a center-right movement that uses the web, social and traditional media, grassroots, community relations, and special events to get the word out in reference to all of the issues that are pertinent not only to Latinos but also to the nation as a whole.
Sure. Now, tell me, you're national. You're a national. Do you have chapters in different states? And where
absolutely. I'm the national. The guy that was given the baton and says, "Oh, Manny, can you run with this?" After I left the RNC, which is the Republican National Committee, as the deputy director of coalition, so I was able to really have a pretty good network all over the country. And having been the past chairman of the Hispanic Chambers of Commerce in California and on the national board, I kind of knew where a lot of these networks were. So I had the opportunity to be able to garnish some of these individuals, and a lot of them are very hungry to get something done. So we have chapters in New York, as an example. We have our chairman, the Ruben Estrada, now has something like 15 state chapters within New York, and they're really out there working it very hard. And sometimes they work with the party, sometimes they're on their own.
So the LNRC is really strong in New York City, but you have chapters in other states.
Well, no, New York City is only one. There's 15 chapters within New York State.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so they're really growing. I mean, they got them in Orange County, they got them in the Bronx, they got them up north. I mean, so that's just one example. The other states are Florida, other states, Maryland, Virginia, California, Nevada, Illinois, and also we have two developing, one in Utah, believe it or not, and another one that's beginning to grow in Georgia.
Wow, that is fantastic. Tell me a little bit more about the upcoming events. You coordinate with other organizations, do you not? You're affiliated with True the Vote?
Yes. Well, there's a lot of organizations that we work with in reference to getting that word out, establish that national presence in key and Hispanic targeted areas. And obviously, there's a lot of people out there that are willing to work and willing to sacrifice to do that. And so we work, as an example, True the Vote is an organization that wants to have integrity in the vote, and they're out of Texas, and we work with them. We also work with our friends at the RNHA, the Republican Hispanic National Alliance. We work with them. Yeah,
and I know that when the RNHA had their national convention, you were there. Members of True the Vote were there. And I work with the RNHA here in Illinois. I know that right now it's the only comprehensive Latino Republican organization. I'm very proud to be a member of that organization. And we're working really hard to maintain a presence here in the state of Illinois. Of course, I don't have to tell you that within this beautiful state of Illinois, there is the city of Chicago, which...
Don't feel lonely there, Deb. I'm a San Francisco boy, so I don't know. I think we may have Chicago beat.
I don't know. Did you see they just did a new poll that picks Chicago the second city that people should get away from.
What's number one?
Out of number one is Detroit, which of course is vacant and
yeah, I
empty.
can see that one.
Yeah, so people should get out of Detroit and move away from there. And then the second one was Chicago. You know, which is so sad because Chicago is gorgeous. It is.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city.
It's a beautiful city. We have our beautiful diehard Cubs that are very much like the Republican Party right now. Always trying to win.
Don't say that because the Cubs haven't won anything in 100 years. So.
Yeah, well, I feel like that. You know, we haven't had anybody win the Republican House seat in the city of Chicago or a Senate seat out of 60 possible seats. No one in Chicago has won in nearly 38 years.
Well, San Francisco, I ran for supervisor in 1992. I was the only Republican in the field of 52. I was endorsed by 3 major newspapers, and I also got endorsed for some of the unions. And I came in 7th in the top 6 go in. I would have been the first Republican since 1956, I think, that would have been on the city council or the mayoral seat. So we're in the same boat.
Yeah, but here's what I don't understand. I mean, we have voter fraud. A report just came out this past weekend, and tell me what your thoughts are on this. This report just came out this past weekend that out of all of our 50 city wards, they found about a dozen zip codes in the city of Chicago that have cumulatively over 100,000 more registered voters than the census says is humanly possible.
Well, I mean, just look at what happened in the election with Mitt Romney in Pennsylvania, where some districts went 100% for Obama, and they got not one vote for Mitt Romney. So I'm sure that's
think about that. Not one vote for Mitt Romney, really. You know, and I mean that's the whole problem. The whole problem that we have here, and it's not just in Chicago; it's across the country. What part of election results like that are American? Those are anti-American election results.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. I can tell you, I had the honor to be a foreign observer to the election of President Cedillo in Mexico, and I was followed around by the Univision cameras as we went to some of the pretty bad neighborhoods to the polls. Mm-hmm. People were lined up. Now, maybe they may have gotten into it before they got to the polls, but once they got into the polls, it was very strict. They had the ink on their fingers after they voted.
Yeah, they have ink on their finger because Mexico has one of the most stringent voter ID requirements. They had to show some kind of a ID. It was kind of, okay. No, we just, what's the front page of the El Sueño Americano newspaper, Así se vota en México. That's what the title of this all-Spanish conservative newspaper that we have over here in Chicago. And the front page story, Así se vota en México, and they have the ID, pictures of the ID. These people got to get fingerprinted, not once but twice. It's on their photo ID, and that thing has to be renewed every 3 years before a major election. And they got to bring in like tons of documents to prove they're who they are. And it's a hologram, and it's a photo, and it's got the UPC seal that gives you the whole deal on their code, like how many kids they have, they're married, where they're at. I mean, serious stuff. So,
yeah, it is pretty serious. So, absolutely. We have some issues with that, but obviously you see what's happening with this administration and with the rhetoric that comes out.
Okay, help me figure this out.
Talking about suppressing the vote versus, making sure the vote is, clean and accurate.
Oh, you know what? We have a big problem. There's nothing clean and accurate about the vote. As a matter of fact, one of our, we in 2014, we have a 4-man race in the Republican primary here in Chicago. And one of the candidates, Bill Brady's partner, Lieutenant Governor Maria Rodriguez, just had a press conference on Wednesday asking the Board of Elections to explain how they are going to ensure a fair election in the state of Illinois when over a dozen zip codes, according to Ballot Sanctity, an organization out of Iowa, out of Kansas City, Missouri, just finalized a report and submitted to us at the start of this week that there's 100,000 plus votes, active registered votes, ballots, being delivered to polling places all over Chicago, and in absentee ballots. what we're supposed to go on the honor system is what the Board of Elections is. The preliminary hearing of what they're saying is we're going on the honor system that nobody's going to use those, activate those, submit those into the ballot box. Really?
Yeah, that's
really the honor system.
It's unfortunate they do a lot of honor systems now too. Remember, we got the honor systems when you sign up on Obamacare. In reference to if you qualify for the subsidy, it's on the honor system too. I mean, come on.
Well, here's
gotta have some kind of check and balances, and that's unfortunate we don't.
Okay, people over here are, first of all, we got to repeal Obamacare. 68% of the American population says forget it. But you have an oppressive voting pattern across this country, and it might be the reason why the Democratic Party is so arrogant. They're arrogant because they have this kind of shenanigans going on all over the place. So we got 100,000 votes. That's just in a dozen of these zip codes. Conceivably, throughout the state of Illinois, they probably control double that or triple that. So and now you're telling me in Pennsylvania not a single person voted for Mitt Romney.
Yeah. Not Pennsylvania. I'm talking about some districts in Pennsylvania.
Some districts in Pennsylvania. You know what? We had voters go in here in different places in Chicago to vote who came out and said, I got my receipt, but yet what we saw as tabulated votes, it said 0 for the Republican candidates in some races here when we were running for committeemen and the alderman races. So we know that they're playing with it. And I, sometimes I wonder at what point is this very smart and talented and well-educated group of citizens in the state of Illinois are going to say enough is enough? Like at what point is that going to happen? Because, and I get it. I get it that as Americans, our men and women who are fighting in the military are fighting that fight for us so that we can get up in the morning and the last thing on our minds is that we're going to be bombed. The last thing on our minds is that we're going to have, some inside sniper attack happen. And so people go about their daily lives, taking care of their own events. I get that. When it's nice, you want to be at the beach and you want to be drinking your pina colada and just enjoying the American dream. I get that. But you know what? The reality is if we don't start preserving the American dream, we're not going to have it.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
So while everybody's sitting at the beach having their pina colada or at the pub watching their favorite sports team, having their Miller beer, at any one moment you could turn around and it's over. And it's not just over for the people. It's over for the corporations. It's over for the businesses. It's over for the unions. It's over for homosexuality and the tolerance of it in a nation that is so awesome like ours that allows you to express yourself and be who you want to be. If Miley Cyrus thinks she's going to be able to get on a wrecking ball half naked in a communist country and swing around singing a tune, she's sadly mistaken.
Yeah, no kidding. So, definitely not going to happen.
Yeah, and so, people need to realize that this is just not a fight that the Republican Party has stepped out and said, we probably have the inside scoop on it because we know that whole leftist communist group hangs out with the Democrats.
Right. So, there's just a lot of, right now, a lot of indifference, a lot of apathy, a lot of misinformation. Children are not being taught the history, the actual history. It's planet. This is why we are at our organization. We're trying to establish a real loyal national structure that can mobilize people and really be educated and informed on the issues and what's happening and how it affects their daily lives and their future. Because what happens, people are not getting that information. And unfortunately, in our Latino community, sometimes it only comes from several channels. One is it comes from the Hispanic media, which really wants people to remain monolingual Hispanics because that's their base. That's their advertising base. And secondly, obviously, by keeping the issues in reference to the nationality issues of immigration and things like that, that also keeps them in focus. And then it bombards them with idiotic soap operas and things like that, what we need to do is have, obviously, shows like yours that can go out and inform and educate people on reference with what's happening and how it affects their lives. Because that's the most important aspect that they got to be aware of. In this country, as you said, it's the greatest country ever, but you have to work. And you got to work at keeping it that way. It's just not going to stay that way if you just lay it on the beach having a pina colada.
Yeah. I think that we try to get the information out through El Sueño Americano and through radio shows like ourselves because, information is power. And I think that with the Latino base growing as much as it has, it's important to get the message out. El mensaje no se puede perder. We cannot lose that message of information because then they're manipulated and they're used by people who know they don't know. And so this is really sort of like a renaissance for the Latino community, new immigrants, as well as second generation to sort of, it's a wake-up call. And, I am so glad that we've had a chance to talk about that. I just want to tell you and tell my listeners, the Communist Party of America is holding their 30th annual convention. Where else but in Chicago in June.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
And so I'm thinking, why Chicago? Why did they pick Chicago? Because Barack Obama's from here. And because Rahm Emanuel, the chief of staff, is the mayor here. Who else would welcome such a leftist group as the Communist Party?
Right.
And I just think that the citizens of Chicago need to send a message that, hey, because we are tolerant, and what our nation represents, everybody's invited to come and see how awesome it is to be America, how awesome it is to be a capitalistic nation built on democracy, not communism. Maybe when they see it, they get that opportunity, but that's it. They should not for 1 second think that this is a sign of weakness or that we are embracing them because it's something we want to happen to us. And I really think that sometimes they use Chicago as the guinea pig. The Democratic powers in Washington, D.C. use Chicago as the guinea pig. And if it works here, then it can work anywhere. If they can fool the citizens of Chicago, they can fool anybody. Because Chicago is not a poor city.
Oh, no.
We have $500,000 homes all around my office. $1 million homes all around Wrigley Field.
Yeah,
but if they can,
a very productive and innovative city too. So it's
sure. And if they can fool the citizens of Chicago, then that's the litmus test. They can do anything to anybody, anywhere. Because if the people of this city can't protect themselves and can't define what this nation represents, sure as hell you're not going to find it across rural America. I'll tell you what you will find across rural America is you'll be looking into a double-barrel shotgun if you try to take that place over. But I could see Chicago falling first because it's just so complacent to everything that's going on. And we have such a strong liberal base here of people who are leftists anyway. I mean, look at the University of Chicago.
Well, we have the same characteristics in a lot of major cities. New York with the new mayor was just wow, that guy's totally out there. I
De
think
Blasio?
the New Yorkers are going to find out.
I've heard him.
They got something they really didn't want. And then you got San Francisco, which is another city that's pretty far out there. So you got Seattle. I mean, so you've got major urban cities. Unfortunately, again, it's because you have these minority communities, like Latino communities, that have been literally indoctrinated and not given the information that they need to make educated decisions. And that's what keeps us in this climate. We got to change that. We got to get that voice out there.
Well, I want to thank you for reaching out to Latinos everywhere and providing that information. I know that I've been out to D.C. I've met with you. I've met the people you work with, and they've become friends of mine, and I've worked with them. I know we try very hard to get the messaging out. to Latinos. I don't know if you're going to have an opportunity to stay with us for the next segment, but I want to thank you for being here for this segment. You've been listening to WPJX 1500 AM. This is Deb Gordills out of Chicago, Illinois, and we'll be back right after these commercials. Thank you.
Thank you.
Americano newspaper. Best newspaper in analysis in the state of Illinois. With over 20,000 copies in each edition, El Sueño Americano is available in all versions. El Sueño Americano Lake County, El Sueño Americano Pilsen, El Sueño Americano Southeast, El Sueño Americano Aurora, and sooner in many more regions. El Sueño Americano, the other side of news. The best analysis in regional, state, and national politics. El Sueño Americano is your alternative information in championnews.net. The conservative voice for Illinois news and commentary on education, pensions, and politics.
Please get involved with our newspaper at Sueño Americano Newspaper. And you can get in touch with Alicia Klasnowski at 773-472-VOTE, V-O-T-E. If you're interested in getting an ad in El Sueño Americano, we'd love to have you. It's a conservative Spanish newspaper, all Spanish for your community, and 3 or 4 pages in English giving you an update and a recap on everything else that's in the paper. So help sponsor that paper and keep it going. We want to welcome the Wheaton Tea Party Patriots. The Wheaton Tea Party Patriots have joined El Sueño Americano in its distribution in Wheaton. So El Sueño Americano is now in Aurora and serving the conservatives of Aurora. We have Lake County, El Sueño Americano, and you can get that right here at the radio station. So come on by if you haven't gotten a copy of El Sueño Americano, or you would like a bundle to put at your business and hand out to your all Spanish reading customers. They're free. You can come down to Grand Avenue and at La Campeona and pick up your bundle of newspapers. We also want to let you know that we're working out a deal with Belvedere Republicans, and hopefully we will be out in Belvedere soon. The newspaper is also hand-delivered to homes in 10,000 homes near Midway Airport. So we are really happy to have our distribution door to door. So you have 40,000 copies of the conservative message in El Sueño Americano, third largest paper distributed in the state of Illinois now, I've been told, and 40,000 go out to conservative Latinos, spreading the conservative message. So love El Sueño Americano. Please go to Facebook and like us if you're online. Like us on Facebook at elsueñoamericano.com. Also, if you want to go to my Facebook page or my LinkedIn page, you can find me under Deb Leticia Gordills. Leticia, L-E-T-I-C-I-A. That's right. I asked my Mom, how did I get the name Deb? If I'm Puerto Rican and Mexican, my middle name, I get it. That's Hispanic, Leticia. But what is Deb and what is Gordills? Turns out Gordills is an ancient Jewish name. Like I'm talking back in the 1500s, ancient, like 1400s. So it's a combination of a married couple getting together and combining their Jewish tribes or something like that. Kind of interesting. So that's where the name Gordills comes from. And Deb, I'm named after Debbie Reynolds because my mother had 3 girls before me and gave them all the Hispanic names she could think of, and I was supposed to be a boy. So there's a little background on me. Let's wrap this back up over to Christy. I just want to make one more. So Hillary Clinton, please, we got to get an apology from Benghazi from this administration, and we need leaders who are in fact have military background and can become commander-in-chiefs. I mean, to say that Barack Obama is a commander-in-chief, dear God, I can't even imagine him in a uniform out there trying to lead our troops in any direction. But, okay, I'm going to get that thought right out of my mind. All right. So one closing comment on Chris Christie. Apparently, him and Obama are such good friends that a worker of Obama that worked on Obama's campaign is now working on Chris Christie's campaign. So, already the mixture is happening. And doesn't that make you sick? I mean, I would rather, if the guy that's going to be in office, let him be his true colors, let him be himself. I have more respect for somebody like that than somebody who tries to play both sides of the fence and you don't really know what they are. And they're saying they're one thing, but they're really another. I don't think for one second anybody doubts that there is nothing Republican about Obama. Nothing. Zero. So I kind of like that distinction because then you know where he stands. But Chris Christie, I look at him and I don't know what he's doing. I don't know where he's at. And that makes it kind of hard. Let's go back to the loyalty factor, the trust factor. So the loyalty factor is very important. So, okay. Now, new subject. GOP to push candidates to defend anti-abortion stance. The GOP, a group of Republican National Committee members will push the GOP, which you know are the Republicans, this week to step up its efforts to prepare candidates to take up their side of the abortion debate. Thank God. It's about time that the National Party realizes that part of our platform is that we are anti-abortion. That's what I liked about the Republican Party, anti-abortion. Now, everybody's got to get this straight, ladies. I'm going to talk to you as a woman here, so, you know, it might sound kind of harsh, but ladies, women, we don't have to fight for choice. Abortion is not about choice anymore. Stop using the word choice. Choice is a word that was needed back in the 60s and the 70s because we had no choice in the 60s and 70s. So unless you're at least 45 years old, 50 years old, and you remember struggling for choice, I mean, back in those days, we couldn't wear pants. I don't care if it was below zero. See this weather today? I'd have had to wear a skirt. I remember having to wear a skirt every single day to public school because girls had to wear skirts. We didn't have a choice. If we were allowed to wear pants, we had to slide them on under our skirts. Do you know how bulky our waistlines were at those days? We had to wear pants. And when we went to gym, we still had to wear a skirt in gym class. So we wore shorts underneath them because it's hard to do a cartwheel in a gym class without showing your underwear unless you had a choice to have shorts on. So, see, choice was important in 1960, the 50s, the 60s, and 70s. We're fighting for the choice to have our voices heard, to be able to have the same rights that men have, to have some kind of equality. Okay, every time you use the word choice, it makes me cringe. You know why? Because you are putting back on a table for men to vote on whether or not I have a choice. You know what? I won that vote. Stop bringing it back to the table and putting it to a vote again, ladies. Choice is a bad word. It's an old word. It's a word that lies and misleads, and you should not use it. We're going to call the abortion issue what it is. You are either for abortion or you are against abortion. Don't be an idiot and say use the word choice, because the word choice is a word that should never come up on the table again in front of women. We fought very hard. Women died for that right, fought for that right. And how dare anybody use the word choice all over again and put it back on a table to vote for again. We voted on that and we won. It would be like me saying, we're going to put slavery back on the agenda. Yeah. Are you for slavery or against? Yeah, slavery will be the new word instead of oppression, instead of calling it what it is. No. We shouldn't bring the word choice to the table any more than we should bring the word slavery to the table. Those issues were voted on and decided. It is a misleading word. Now let's talk about something new today. You are either for abortion or you are not. You're either for life or you are not. Killing an infant in a womb is no different than killing an old person. Both have heartbeats. Both are helpless. Both need to be taken care of. Both, if left alone, could probably die. So, do you see what I'm telling you here? You have to stop. We need to run a campaign, women, because men out there love that you keep putting that word up there to be used. That word choice. To keep you in your place. I don't have to choose a darn thing. What can't you choose to do? If you want to go shave your head, you could go shave your head. You want to grow a mustache and let the hair on your legs grow, you had a choice to do that too. You want to wear shorts, pants, or be like Miley Cyrus, naked on a wrecking ball. Does it really matter? I mean, what is there left? There's nothing left to choose. There's no reason to talk about choice. Stop it. Please, just talk about abortion. And so right now, I'm very happy that the Republican Party is finally telling their candidates to stop being embarrassed about talking about the preservation of life. Life from beginning to end. Life in the womb, life all the way to when the people get old. You're going to get old. Everybody gets old. Unless we die early, we can't avoid it. And we need help. And that life is valuable. That 92-year-old life is valuable. Just as valuable as the 92-day-old life is, or 92 hours old. So I am so happy to see the Republican Party, and we as Latinos, 57% of us, we dominate the order. Now, when we talk about I'm for abortion, against abortion, some people are like, well, look, if you had the unfortunate experience to not be married, not plan a pregnancy, and you are with child, I understand that there's so many decisions you have to make. You should be making those with your family, not with strangers in a clinic, with family. I can tell you, as unprepared as I am right now at 53 years of age, if someone in my family or if a stranger walked up to me and said, here, would you care for my baby? I would raise it as my own and love it, no matter what. So please, this is a family subject. We need to tell the government to stay the heck out of it, making these decisions. And then saying that our children can make these decisions. I've already told my daughters, don't even think about it. I don't know what the future holds, but what I do know is that anything about your body and your life with children is something we discuss as a family. And we may not agree, but we do this together as a family. Hard as it may be, we do this together as a family. And so I'm really happy to see here that they're having candidates they're asking candidates not to stay silent on pro-life issues and because you need to identify with key voters and you need to make sure everybody needs to know that the only political party that votes for abortion and takes extreme abortion killing stances and the killing of old people are the Democratic Party. The Democratic leaders are vicious and mean when it comes to the killing of babies, the abortion issue. Cuckoo, all about it. And I'm here to tell you that Republican candidates need to stand up for life. You need to stand up for life. We need to support women's centers to help women, young or old, who find themselves with children to get the materials and the resources and the support and the love and the nurturing that they need. No greater thing can we do as a woman, than to raise a child and be a mom. And that's whether you adopt them or you have them yourself. Whether you're that aunt who never had children of her own, but you love your nieces and nephews like they were your side pockets. This is our future. We are the future of our country and where we're at as senior citizens and where we're going to be when we're old depends on how we nurture and love our family, our children, and children who just need to get support and the right guidance when they're pregnant, women, young ladies. And we need to do that. And so some Republican candidates have already adopted a strategy of deflection and silence when attacked with a war on women. The only war on women is those machete, knife, digging abortion clinics. That's the war on women, is the Democrat men and women who say, yeah, cut them up, take them out, and have them in this unregulated state of Illinois. Abortion clinics are not regulated. Not here in Illinois, and in probably half the other states in America. Unregulated. They don't have to have a real nurse, a real doctor. Just the other day in Aurora, 2 days ago, they had an ambulance take a girl out. Who knows if she's dead from an abortion? These Democrats here in Illinois are always trying to pass legislation that if our daughters get pregnant, they don't have to tell us. ¿Qué? What? Yeah. Lo debe de creer. You should believe it because it's true.
Sueño Americano newspaper. Best newspaper in analysis in the state of Illinois. With over 20,000 copies in each edition, El Sueño Americano is available in all versions. El Sueño Americano Lake County, El Sueño Americano Pilsen, El Sueño Americano Southeast, El Sueño Americano Aurora, and sooner in many more regions. El Sueño Americano, the other side of news. The best analysis in regional, state, and national politics. El Sueño Americano is your alternative information in championnews.net. The conservative voice for Illinois news and commentary on education, pensions, and politics.
Than this is the Republican National Committee Hispanic Communications Director, Izzy Santa. Izzy, are you there on the phone still?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on today.
Oh, you're welcome, Izzy. And I know that this is a new relationship with El Sueño Americano newspaper and the Republican National Committee out of Washington, D.C. But, this is really important and exciting because you guys are the highest level of Republican leadership, and hopefully you can share with us this new position, or not a new position so much as a reaffirming position on the Republican National Party as pro-lifers. Would you like to share some of the information on this?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, we wouldn't be the RNC without the support of Republican voters and those who are on the ground, making sure that we're electing good candidates to office.
Thank you.
But this week, the RNC is having their winter meeting where party chairmen and women and committee men and committee women are coming to D.C. to discuss official business. And it just so happens that the winter meeting also coincides with the March for Life. So under the leadership of Chairman Previs, we said, it would be great if we moved back our original programming to make sure that we include those folks who are traveling across the country to be part of the RNC winter meeting to also go to the march. And everybody was so thankful and so appreciative that the chairman took the time to not only delay the start of the meeting to make sure that we would be seen at the March for Life, but he also marched today with pro-lifers, and he actually rented a bus from the hotel, paid by the RNC, to make sure that the folks that are here representing all the state parties across the street were able to participate in the cause. And, pro-life issues are so important to us. Life is a gift. It must be protected, and we believe that being there shows that not only do we talk the talk, but we also walk the walk.
Absolutely, Izzy. And, as a Hispanic communications director, you're Latina, I'm Latina. We know that culturally, we come from a background culture that respects the family, that respects the extended family, that babies from our families are gifts to us, all of us, as aunts and uncles and godparents, and we hold it as a gift. It's at our very core, something that we care about and are involved with. And so I'm so excited that the March for Life occurred today in Washington, D.C., correct? And the involvement that Prince Previs took. Our listeners are two states involved. The state of Illinois, the northern part of the state of Illinois can hear you right now on the radio show, and so is the southeast part of Wisconsin. So I know that our party leader, the Republican leader, is from the state of Wisconsin, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so that's exciting. So all of you there in Wisconsin know that you have a wonderful citizen who's taken the leadership reins of the Republican National Committee nationally, and as conservatives, as we all are on this radio show, and our listeners, and of course me, the host, I'm very proud of the stance that the Republican National Committee has taken on this march. What else can we see as a result of this march? I'm sure there's extended language about candidates and platforms. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. We have had committee men and committee women through the Rules Committee propose a resolution that would make sure that, we strengthen our support and values for life issues, because it is something that we are actually, the Republican Party's position on life is actually in view with the majority of what Americans think. The majority of Americans disapprove of late-term abortions, which is the opposite of what Democrats, advocate. They take a very extreme position. They are in favor of enacting policies that make it possible for to have an abortion after 20 weeks of pregnancy. Most of Americans actually are opposed to that. So what we are doing is we're reaffirming our beliefs. We're making sure that we are having the right messaging so that we can go out in communities and communicate about what it means to be Republican and the principles that we surround ourselves with. But, something very interesting just in relation to just the Hispanic community, the Public Religion Research Institute did a poll from that measured the values of Hispanic voters from August of last year and September of last year, and 32% said it was morally wrong to have an abortion, and 9% said it was morally acceptable. So I think what you're seeing is that we need to reaffirm our pro-life issues with all types of constituencies, but specifically the Hispanic community, because we do think life is a gift. It must be protected. It is part of our beliefs, and we are also blessed when we have the opportunity to also make sure that we have the right to life.
Yeah, and Izzy, on that note, I often have mentioned that Latino parents, because 60% of our listeners speak English and understand English, it's 100% Hispanic following. Until recently, a lot of non-Hispanics are tuning in to hear this show, and I welcome everybody. But one of the things that we're talking about is that with public schools, especially here in Chicago, predominantly, almost 90% of the students that attend public schools in Chicago are either Latinos or Black African Americans. This is an important issue for us to understand, that the core standards that the Democrats are putting out are sort of curriculum standards, or teaching our children counterculture information. I mean, that they're teaching our children values and a lack of morality that we want for our children. And so one of the things that we've been working on is messaging to Latino families to get more involved in their local school boards and local school councils, so that they understand and can vote on issues that relate to what their kids are learning. I think that, just a blanket blind trust that we're going to send our kids to the schools in school systems where this Common Core, Standard Core curriculum is happening, kind of goes against the grain of what we believe. Do you have any thoughts, or is the RNC addressing any of these Common Core curriculum standards that take religion out of the curriculum and take and sort of have these extended curriculums that involve a lot of sexuality and contraceptive type of information, that maybe that should be left for the families to discuss? I mean, it's already confusing enough. I think it's up to the families to have this discussion on what we accept and don't accept in terms of our children's behavior.
Right. So I think you've absolutely brought up, a key question, which is, what should be the role of government when it comes to this type of education? And I think one of the things that we're seeing is that parents should be empowered to make the best decisions for their kids. And parents should be the one, should have more control over their child's education, not a bureaucrat and a school board, right? So I think one of the things that we advocate is to make sure that that there are more options for parents, that should they feel uncomfortable with what is going on in the classroom, they have another alternative. And sometimes we've seen that kids can't escape the schools that they're in or the classroom that they're in. So what we advocate is why not give parents school choice? Why not make it more easy for them to give their children the quality education that they need? That it's not tied to some zip code. Right now, your child goes to school based, on a zip code in the school district. But if you want to transfer to another district, there's paperwork that you have to file. Sometimes you have to go to a school board. There's all these hurdles just to make sure that your child has a good education. And what we're saying is, why wait for all that red tape? And by the time all that stuff is resolved, you get an answer from a bureaucrat of, yes, you can go to another school. We've already lost a generation of kids. What we want is to empower parents today, make sure that they have the option to send their kids to a charter school, virtual school, homeschooling, which is important because they can teach the values that they want at home, or even have a scholarship program where they can, the money that goes to the school actually follows the child, and so they can pick the best school that benefits their needs. That's really what we're saying, and I think all of these types of solutions help resolve some of the issues that you've mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. We are definitely pro-voucher system and allowing the best education. Here in Chicago, property taxes pay for the schools in the communities. And so if you live in a community, the line of thinking and the way the property tax is set up is the property owner has to pay an increased amount of taxes to the government to have their child have, even if you don't have any children, you still are a property owner. Your property taxes go to pay for the schools. So I think there's a big question raised here for people who don't have children. The government, I guess their position is that it's good to have good schools in the community. So even if you don't have children, your taxes, you should be charged taxes to support a school. But now with 150 school closings, that some of our communities and our neighborhoods here in Chicago are deserts to schools. There is no school within an entire community or neighborhood, making that kid have to travel miles to another neighborhood to go to another school. So they're getting on the bus, some of them as early as 5:30 in the morning to get to a school, and they don't get home till 7 at night. That's kind of crazy. And I think that these neighborhoods that don't have any schools in they're called desert areas, no school desert areas. I think an argument could be put that maybe it's time to change how the schools are funded, at least here in Chicago, and address that voucher question once again. I mean, is it fair for anybody in a neighborhood or community to pay property taxes that are $4,000 or $5,000 to $6,000, $7,000 a year, and they don't even have a school?
I mean, you bring excellent points. I remember when the mayor of Chicago announced this, and I remember an uproar from families because there was no plan in place of transportation. How are these students going to get to school, specifically in the tough neighborhoods, where, if you walk down a street, you're going to maybe face a hostile environment. And I think that's one of the things that school choice offers. It offers parents more control of their child's education and makes sure that schools are competing for the kids, as opposed to right now, the government just allocates money based on just the amount of students that attend the school per pupil spending. So if I say I have a school, I have 10 kids, the government gives me X amount of money. And what we're saying is treat it more like Pell Grants. I mean, nowadays, normally most people would agree that, the money follows the child.
Americano newspaper. Best newspaper in analysis in the state of Illinois. With over 20,000 copies in each edition, El Sueño Americano is available in all versions. El Sueño Americano Lake County, El Sueño Americano Pilsen, El Sueño Americano Southeast, El Sueño Americano Aurora, and sooner in many more regions. El Sueño Americano, the other side of news. The best analysis in regional, state, and national politics. El Sueño Americano is your alternative information in championnews.net. The conservative voice for Illinois news and commentary on education, pensions, and politics.
It's against the grain of what we believe. Do you have any thoughts, or is the RNC addressing any of these Common Core curriculum standards that take religion out of the curriculum and take and sort of have these extended curriculums that involve a lot of sexuality and contraceptive type of information, that maybe that should be left for the families to discuss? I mean, it's already confusing enough. I think it's up to the families to have this discussion on what we accept and don't accept in terms of our children's behavior.
Right. So I think you've absolutely brought up, a key question, which is, what should be the role of government when it comes to this type of education? And I think one of the things that we're seeing is that parents should be empowered to make the best decisions for their kids. And parents should be the one should have more control over their child's education, not a bureaucrat and a school board, right? So I think one of the things that we advocate is to make sure that that there are more options for parents that should they feel uncomfortable with what is going on in the classroom, they have another alternative. And sometimes we've seen that kids can't escape the schools that they're in or the classroom that they're in. So what we advocate is why not give parents school choice? Why not make it more easy for them to give their children the quality education that they need, that it's not tied to some zip code. Right now, your child goes to school based, on a zip code in the school district. But if you want to transfer to another district, there's paperwork that you have to file. Sometimes you have to go to a school board. There's all these hurdles just to make sure that your child has a good education. And what we're saying is, why wait for all that red tape? And by the time all that stuff is resolved, you get an answer from a bureaucrat of, yes, you can go to another school. We've already lost a generation of kids. What we want is to empower parents today, make sure that they have the option to send their kids to a charter school, virtual school, homeschooling, which is important because they can teach the values that they want at home, or even have a scholarship program where they can, the money that goes to the school actually follows the child, and so they can pick the best school that benefits their needs. That's really what we're saying, and I think all of these types of solutions help resolve some of the issues that you've mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. We are definitely pro-voucher system and allowing the best education. Here in Chicago, property taxes pay for the schools in the communities. And so if you live in a community, the line of thinking and the way the property tax is set up is the property owner has to pay an increased amount of taxes to the government to have their child have, even if you don't have any children, you still are a property owner. Your property taxes go to pay for the schools. So I think there's a big question raised here. For people who don't have children, the government, I guess their position is that it's good to have good schools in the community. So even if you don't have children, your taxes, you should be charged taxes to support a school. But now with 150 school closings, that some of our communities and our neighborhoods here in Chicago are deserts to schools. There is no school within an entire community or neighborhood, making that kid have to travel miles to another neighborhood to go to another school. So they're getting on the bus, some of them as early as 5:30 in the morning to get to a school, and they don't get home till 7 at night. That's kind of crazy. And I think that these neighborhoods that don't have any schools in they're called desert areas, no school desert areas. I think an argument could be put that maybe it's time to change how the schools are funded, at least here in Chicago, and address that voucher question once again. I mean, is it fair for anybody in a neighborhood or community to pay property taxes that are $4,000 or $5,000 to $6,000, $7,000 a year, and they don't even have a school?
I mean, you bring excellent points. I remember when the mayor of Chicago announced this, and I remember an uproar from families because there was no plan in place of transportation. How are these students going to get to school, specifically in the tough neighborhoods, where, if you walk down a street, you're going to maybe face a hostile environment. And I think that's one of the things that school choice offers. It offers parents more control of their child's education. It makes sure that schools are competing for the kids, as opposed to right now, the government just allocates money based on just the amount of students that attend the school per pupil spending. So if I say I have a school, I have 10 kids, the government gives me X amount of money. And what we're saying is treat it more like Pell Grants. I mean, nowadays, normally most people would agree that, the money follows the child, meaning like with Pell Grants. If I wanted to go to a Catholic school, or if I wanted to go to a public school, or if I wanted to go to private school, the government wouldn't prevent me from picking the school that I'd like to go to. The money would go to me. I make the decision. I make the choice as to where to go to school. So school choice is, when it comes to, a scholarship program, like as you mentioned, school vouchers should be treated as Pell Grants. there's no excuse why Democrats can't get on board with this and continue to protect special interests.
Oh, yeah, you know what, special interest, absolutely. There's a charter school here in Chicago that is in a Turkish neighborhood, and that's no disrespect to any Turkish residents or individuals who attend that school. But this particular charter school has a relationship with the nation, the country of Turkey, and money is spent in this charter school to create technology that the students then share this technology that they learn here to better the nation of Turkey. It turns out that Mike Madigan, the Speaker of the House here in Illinois, is the big supporter of this Turkish school and has been to Turkey no less than a dozen times on mission trips. And this is absolutely crazy because when you look at his campaign contributions to his coffer, a lot of the money comes from Turkey and Turkish citizens. So, you know, there's another reason why they're not going to want the voucher system and our kids to go to schools where we have values, because there's a good example of a special interest reason that benefits only one person, and that's the Democrat Speaker of the House, Mike Madigan. I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah, the vision, the vision the Republicans offer in contrast to Republicans is we want opportunity for all. But it's how do you get to that? How do you build that goal? Everybody has the same goal, but we just have a different belief of how to get there. And our belief is we need to empower parents. We need to dismantle this bureaucratic red tape system where kids are trapped, not because their parents are involved, but because the system makes it so hard for anybody to give anybody a right answer. You have to go through a counselor, you have to go through a teacher, you have to go through a principal to get to a school school board member. I mean, the reason why I became Republican is the classic American story. My parents in Miami, they moved away from an urban area because they wanted me to go to a better school. And that's exactly what they did. They moved to a suburb. But once I got to that suburb school, that middle school that I was at, because it was so overpopulated, they actually shipped me on a bus to another school, not in my school district, not even close to my parents' house, like 12 miles away. And it was pretty tough. It was a tough environment. And here's a classic example of my parents' hard work to get to a better suburban neighborhood, to have a better school, because typically if you live in a good neighborhood, you go to a good school, right?
Yes.
I did that with that goal, but instead the school system was like, I'm sorry, you didn't move to this neighborhood in, X amount of time, so we have to cut you off and send you this other crappy school. I mean, this school is incredibly inefficient.
I believe it. Izzy, that is interesting because, recently, and I think I just talked about this report yesterday, schools are being closed around America. Philadelphia is reporting an unbelievable amount of school closures, Washington, D.C., Detroit. And, I hate to say this, but Obama coming from Illinois, that's what they've been doing here for the last 10 years, consolidating the schools. And now they actually put that into play out there across the country, and they're doing it to everyone. My big question is why? Why are they implementing a program that has failed in Illinois now from Washington, D.C. across the country? Because they get to develop these special interests now across the nation. It's absolutely insane. I can't wait till we elect a Republican president in this country, one that's more aligned with the values of the conservatives in this country, and definitely in line with all the Latinos in this country. And I am really excited and happy to have had you on this show, Izzy. I hope that we have you regularly to discuss so many of the happenings and what the Republican National Committee in Washington, D.C. is doing. I'm so happy that you've joined us from Washington, D.C. on today's show. Any closing comments or issues or statements, things you want us to know, events that are going on?
I think people should be, your listeners should be very proud that we had an active chairman who is participating in the Pro-Life March, and we had other Republican officials participating in the March for Life. That, at the winter meeting, we're going to be voting on, a pro-life resolution, that we're going to be talking about Hispanic engagement, that we're going to be talking about our new program of Rising Stars, highlighting the Republicans that usually don't make it to the mainstream because reporters, don't want to dig into, local politics. And that's where a lot of our rising stars are. A lot of the Latinas and Latinos that are Hispanic Republicans are at the local level, and we've developed a program to make sure that we highlight them at the national level. So everybody should be really excited about the work that we're doing here, and feel free to follow us on Twitter at RNC Latinos, and feel free to retweet us.
I love that. RNC Latinos. I'm going to definitely be following you guys and add you to my Twitter following list. ¿Hablas español?
Sí, hablo español.
Ay, qué bueno. Okay, so there you go. We just found out that we have a truly Hispanic communications director out in Washington, D.C. Izzy, gracias. Thank you so much for being here on my show. And I hope we have you here again. And you can read more about what the RNC is doing in El Sueño Americano newspaper. 40,000 issues go out a month in Illinois. You can download it at www.elsueñoamericanonews.com. You can look at all our archives. See there, we have covered many of the RNC stories in the past year. So, Izzy, you'd probably enjoy going there as well. Thank you again for being on our show today.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. And so there you have it. We've had the opportunity to have the Republican National Committee. So they are going to have an article appearing in the next issue of El Sueño Americano News. I think they're going to be on page 3. So tune in. If you have any questions, feel free to call me. If you want to sponsor our show, if you like what you hear, call us at 773-991-3577. Again, the phone number to call is our salesperson if you're interested in ads for the newspaper at sueñoamericanonews.com, or the bottom line with Deb Gordill's on our show. We thank again our sponsors, championnews.net and America's PAC. So, and Uline Corporation, thank you all for being here. And you folks in Wisconsin, make sure to thank the Republican National Committeeman, who's a citizen of the great state of Wisconsin. Thank you all for listening to to the bottom line, and to reading El Sueño Americano. This is Deb Gordills. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, 5 p.m.
Sueño Americano newspaper. Best newspaper in analysis in the state of Illinois. With over 20,000 copies in each edition, El Sueño Americano is available in all versions. El Sueño Americano Lake County, El Sueño Americano Pilsen, El Sueño Americano Southeast, El Sueño Americano Aurora, and sooner in many more regions. El Sueño Americano, the other side of news. The best analysis in regional, state, and national politics. El Sueño Americano is your alternative information in championnews.net. The conservative voice for Illinois news and commentary on education, pensions, and